Hello everybody, welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host Tony Visco. I think we're going to do a sand dune today. Sand dune fence. I had sent it off to those of you that are with me. There's a fence here that blocks the sand from going over. Here's the roadway over here. And we have some growth, obviously, some growth on the sand dunes. But basically that's going to be it. Sky, clouds, relatively fun piece to do, maybe, huh? We'll see. Let's put it over here. So my thinking is that I'm going to wet it first. I want to wet the sky. I want to wet down here. So I think what I'm going to do is, I'm going to go ahead and wet the sky up and then wet this here. So we'll probably just do it a step at a time because I'm going to have to let the sky in the back here. This is ocean. There's a little bit of ocean back here too. So I'm going to have to let this dry before I can put all of this stuff in here, the dunes. All right, so we'll do it a step at a time, okay? So let's just take some tape, we'll hinge it on the top, and I'll wet it as we go. So let's do this. We'll tape it over here and give it a bit of a hinge. We can see it okay, so that's good. And get some water. And we'll get started. So what do I want to do? All right, so first of all, we want to take care of the sky. So I'm going to just come over here and we're going to wet the sky. I'm not going to wet everything all at once. We're just going to wet it as we go. Let's take all of the sky and wet it up. Nice. And then we'll draw it down as we go. All right, and what I'm going to do is get some cobalt blue and cerulean blue, and what I want to do before I do that is to get all my paints taken care of. So the wetting of the sky is part of the whole process here. Paint's taken care of. Let's get a little bit of spray. We'll spray them up a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to start to do this. What we'll start off with is get a little bit of the sky. We're going to end up with a little bit of cerulean blue in the sky. Okay. And we'll come over here with a little bit of cerulean blue and come down into this area here. And as we come down, maybe a little bit warmer, add a little bit of yellow ochre to this cerulean blue. So I took cerulean blue in here, just plain cerulean blue. This is a little bit of combination of cerulean blue and yellow ochre right here. Just a tiny bit, all right? And we're just going to draw this down into this, but about this area here. And this is all sky. Okay, and I think, if I remember correctly, we have an ocean that's out here, so I'm going to just change that up a bit right there. So we're going to change that up and add a little bit of cobalt blue into that ocean, right about here. That'll give me an area where my ocean is, okay? It'll be pretty straight going across horizon line. All right, so we're going to let the sky alone, let it paint itself. We just want a soft sky, nothing major. And as I come down here, this is all going to be sand dunes. So the sky's done. Sand dunes, we're going to come down and we're going to actually create the sand dunes by using, again, we're going to wet the paper. Might as well just finish off here, just wet the paper. I got a little bit of a blue cash in here, but that'll all soften up. And we're going to end up coming in here and probably could have wet the whole paper first. But the way it sort of works out, saturate this here a little bit. And what we're going to do is take a little bit of my, yeah, here you go, here. Naples yellow, a little bit of Naples yellow, and a little bit of opera rose. So what we're going to do is we're going to create just a pretty dune color. All right, we're going to put this in nice and soft. All right, again, a little bit of opera rose, Naples yellow for now, okay? Just a little bit of this, and this is going to be wisped in here. Just nice and soft. Very light. So we have something started in terms of the dunes, and the dunes are going to have some shadow in it in this area here. So I just added some of this cobalt blue mixture that was right here, and my cerulean blue mixture, just to all of this stuff, and just got a little bit more on the grayer side, just a light feeling of dunes. We're going to end up putting grass in that area. So we have a start of something that's very light and very soft. So at this point, I want to make sure that what we have is a nice, fresh light feeling right back in here. Okay. And we're just going to pick up some lighter, a little bit of water, and make some of this a little bit lighter. Add a little bit more of my combination of my opera rose along with my Naples yellow. Naples yellow is a little bit of a coolie yellow. Just going to bring some of this down in here, a bit on the pinkish side. And what we want to do is create this sort of interesting shape, this movement coming down. And a little bit of that over here. Sort of like it's a pinkish color, isn't it? Okay. Bring some of this down here. So we want to create some interest in the dunes, in that they don't want to be stagnant. You don't want just one value in there. You want a variation in that value. Some of this is going to be darker in here, so some of the sand is going to lighten up a bit. I added a little bit here of my opera rose to this as well. It's going to be light here. We're going to come down in this area here, curving. Right? So I want some light and some dark. Now, I just want to make sure that we have our ocean over here. Just take a little bit of that out over here. Just going to come back a bit. All right. Nice, strong light area right there with the horizon line. So this is nice and soft. Now here's an interesting thing that we want to try to do, and that is do a little bit of a soft fine spattering in here. It's sand. We got a couple of rocks in here, a couple of stone we're going to put in, but it's sand, and I'm just wondering whether or not we should spatter a little bit. If I'm going to spatter it all, we'll continue this a little bit more. If I'm going to spatter it all, I'll probably spatter later with just a fine toothbrush, so you get a finer spray with that kind of thing. Okay. But again, keeping this nice and light. Now we also have some interesting things that are happening here with regard to leafy structure, grass, and so forth. So if we take a little bit of cerulean blue and we take a little bit of, mix that up with a little bit of my new gamboge and add a bit of burnt sienna to it, I'm going to just start to put in some watery, this is watery. Right, so here it is, a little bit of my cerulean blue, a little bit of my opera rose, and a bit of burnt sienna, and maybe we get this olivey color, sort of light olive color, but it's very watery. It's probably more, maybe 70% water, a little 30% pigment. And while this is still wet, I'm just going to sort of dab some stuff in here. Dab some of this growth. Now this growth is going to spread up. Right, so I'm just taking it wet, and it's going to be spreading a bit. That's the first thing we want to do. We got a bunch of it over here. That's a little bit drier, as we can see, coming into this area here. We got some up in this area. Okay. And down in this wet area, of course, where this is all nice and wet, it's going to spread a bit more, keeping it light. We have actually some of this growing up here too. I don't know, they've got some, looks like leafy, I don't know what it is actually, but it's part of the dune growth, whatever's up there. Maybe a bush, maybe a little bit of a, right, so we're just going to come up here and do a little bit of that. Notice how this is spreading. This is warm, green's cool. This is going to be spreading softly. I'm going to be putting grass in here as well, but I'm going to do this nice and light. Okay. Bit. Tiny bit here and there. This is the grass. This is the grass that's growing on the dunes. So it's called dune grass. How about that? Okay. Dune grass. Alright, we got it. Clumps of it in here, clumps of it in there. Just sort of paging it around, doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But essentially all I'm doing is I'm taking this mixture, again, cerulean blue, some Naples yellow, and my new gamboge together. Nice and light, watery. And the reason why I want it watery is because it's the softness. See how it's spreading here? I'm spreading, and it has a feeling of just softness. spreading. I want some of that in there. I want to get some of that in there because that's my background. When I put in a few more of these more controlled shapes, you want some of this in the background spreading around to give you the feeling that, you know, it's all over. But I'm only going to do a few controlled shapes for all of this. So we're going to let this just spread. You know. And again, it's all about sort of composition, so I'm trying to watch my interest. Nice and watery. You can see this, nice and watery. Going to get a little bit heavier in here. Dune grass. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow ochre to this grouping. Take a little bit of yellow ochre in here and add cerulean blue to my yellow ochre. I'm going to get a little bit heavier in color. A little bit heavier in value, actually, not color, all right? And again, it's still wet, so I'm still playing around with wet area. Some of this is nice. Add a little bit of here, a little bit of there, a little bit there. Okay. A little bit more of my yellow ochre, heavier, along with my cerulean blue. To make this a little bit heavier now. We're going to make this thicker. All right, we're going to make this thicker, more denser. All right, so less water. This whole thing is going to have less water now. See how thick that is? All right. We're going to start to take a look at adding some thicker, darker areas. Bit here and there. Maybe even a little bit darker and thicker as it comes over here. Couple down in this area here. Now you want to keep these shapes random. One of the things that you don't want to do when you're doing this kind of stuff is to create repetitive patterns that are the same, because that's a bit dangerous to do. So you want to keep them sort of random. Try your best to keep them random. I know our brains are wired for formality. You know, we're so used to that. But if we can keep them a bit on the random side, they look so much better. I'm squinting actually as I do this stuff to try to get a variation and pattern. And it's sort of interesting, a little bit here. Maybe some a bit down here on the roadway. This is still soft. Okay. Nice feeling of my dunes. So we're going to end up. Let's get a little bit of a little bit more water in my brush. I'm going to take my. I'm going to end up getting my riggers here. We're going to use those pretty soon. You know, my rigger brushes, my long thin brushes. These two, we'll pull those in pretty soon. But right now, I want to take some of this water out of here. sorry, take some of the color out of the dunes and get back to some of the whiter shapes. If I can do that. So we're going to come in here with my little, this is my flat angular brush, and I'm going to take some tissue and see if we can lighten up some of this. Adding water to it. These are like controlled blossoms, blooms. I'm letting that eat at the pigment. Getting the water in here. I'm introducing water to a damp, not a wet area, but a damp area. Alright, same way with over here. I'm introducing water into this area here to make more of a controlled blossom, which will work well on the dunes. I don't have, it's going to end up doing well. And we'll just come in here and see if we can pull some of this out of here, lighten some of this up. I found it a bit too, some of it was a bit too pink. And that could be, I mean, I guess it goes back to your particular taste, if you like it that way. Just want to take and remove some of this. Okay, and we got a nice feeling of grass here. We've got a few hard edges, which are perfectly okay. I'm going to want to put some hard edges in there. We're going to end up doing all of this stuff hard, pretty much. A lot of this stuff over here is going to be hard edges. We want to get a little bit more interesting. Get some grass structure in here. I'll add a little bit of my yellow ochre. Nice and thin. Nice, very thin. Nice thin strokes. Again, background. I'm still using, all I'm doing is I'm still using these colors right here. A little bit of yellow ochre in this stuff, but that's about it. Haven't changed my colors at all. Just changing up how I approach this and what I put in. A little bit of grass structure. A little bit of that going on. Okay. Certainly in this area here. A little bit grassier there too. And we got a interesting array of values down here. There's a cluster of I want to make sure that your focus is going to be over here. But we do want to put some of this in. Now we're going to get even darker, adding some cobalt blue and yellow ochre together. Getting really dense. Alright. Actually, I'm going to take a little bit of my burnt sienna to put it in there too. So this is going to be a deeper value. And again, we're just putting in some shapes. I'm trying to get these shapes to be interesting shapes. Maybe let's see some darker shapes here and there. Now I'm just taking my brush. Actually, this is, as you said, this is a chiseled edge, angular brush. It's probably a half an inch. I think no, I don't know what it is, but I guess it's about a half inch. Yeah, half-inch brush. And what I'm doing is I'm just putting in some blades of grass. We'll do longer blades of grass in a second, but these are just going to be blades of grass. Okay. Blades of grass there, all right. I wonder if we can take out. Let me see if I can take out a blade of grass here. Remove. So we'll just remove some of these, make them a little bit lighter. Yeah. All right. All right. This is all nice and dry now. I think we can probably go ahead and put in some of those. Interesting fencing. I'm going to make the fencing a little bit in the red. Burnt sienna and red. We'll do some of these. Let's see. I want to draw this down so I don't know if. Whoops. Let's get this. I use my other one. So we're gonna do some of these beautiful dune fences. Make these a little bit redder, some of them. Okay. Let's get some of them are going to be yellow ochre. So maybe some of them are going to be actually more controlled. I want some of them like I did here, which is basically stiffer or, you know, more random. And some of these I'm going to make nice and straight, nice and big. There you go. Thin, thick. I'm going to start the fencing process here. We want to hide the bottom. Okay, yellow ochre. Let's go over here and make them very straight. Okay. Oh my God, my not working. I'm going to do this actually quickly. Don't labor over this, because as you see, what happens is that if you labor over it, the fence is not going to end up being accurate. They're going to bend on you. I want that darker. Okay. Let's get some light, very light. I don't want green, but I want a lighter mixture here of my values. I want a lighter value, is what I'm saying. Like the sun is hitting it in certain areas. Some of it's going to be darker. You don't want them all, that's what you don't want to do, is you don't want them all the same value. Then it gets boring. Okay, some of them are going to be lighter. They create much more interest anyway, this way. Okay. The structure is much more interesting. Now maybe we have on this one you have a little bit of a top, goes down to the bottom. Maybe this in the same way. Well, a nice thick one there. Okay, I'm going to bring them down. So you can see basically what's happening is I'm building these as we go, and it's changing value and changing color. Just creates a little bit more interest. Maybe a little bit of, I just added about a nice one here. One of those, maybe. I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll brighten this up too. I'm just trying to create a lot of more interest as this comes up. Okay. A little bit of opera rose and I just mixed a little bit of opera rose and cobalt blue together for a couple of these, and this is, I'm going to do this right down there and right down here. Oh. Nice and big. And that one. I'm trying to keep your intention, keep this interesting. Maybe those are closer together. A little bit farther apart. Now you notice what I'm doing is I'm drawing these all down, but I want to go back and I'm going to make some of these a little bit darker at the top or the bottom. Change them up a bit. If I can do that, that's even better. Okay, so we can create some, that's too dry. Like the sun's hitting it. Alright, we'll bring this down here. One down there. Now these are long strokes, so you just got to sort of get used to the working with the brush. And make this one nice and dark. I could have made them all the same. I didn't have to do it this way. But it's fun. Here's a fat one. It's more fun. It's much more enjoyable. It's much, there's eye candy that goes on when you're sort of looking at all of this stuff. It just gives you that variation, which is absolutely wonderful. And if we do a little bit of this again, we get a little bit of that light dark kind of effect that goes on. Nice and solid. So what are we doing? I'm just going in and I'm just picking various colors. Yellow ochre. Some of the yellow ochre I'm making is pretty strong, like that one there. Okay. And then if we just go in and we just add a little bit of pick up a little bit of that color off with my tissue. I want to go back here a bit, soften this up a bit. To do that, I'm going to put some color over that. All right. All right, how about some, let's go back and do some lighter stuff here. We got one here, make that bigger, one here, and one here. All right, and we'll just pick up a little bit of that there. Okay, so we have that. We'll go back, we're going to just start to add a little bit more interest here. Maybe make this one a little bit different. And we got, let's get a little bit more of this color and this color together. And we actually have in between here well, I'm not sure I even like that. They're a little bit darker fence. There's fencing in there too. All right, we'll leave that the way it is right there. So that's sort of interesting. Now we can start to do a little bit more of our grass. A little bit of cobalt blue. And some more grass structure in here. Yep, all kinds in here. There's all kinds of stuff going on. And I think we want to make sure that we got some interesting shapes in here that are going to work with all of that stuff. I've got some interesting grassy structure that's in here. And add a little bit of water. Now, it's my remember that plant I put in there? Well, it's there. I'm seeing it. What I'm doing is I'm just adding Adding some nice feeling of all of this pretty dune grass that's going on in here. Mixture of values, mixture of colors. Coming down there. Let's add a little bit more in here. Maybe that's too thick. Gotta be sort of thinner on this. A lot of this stuff is going to be a lot thinner. Looking okay from my perspective so far. Let's see if we can get some of this in here. Get this one going on here. A little bit of this. Shadowy stuff coming down the dunes here. And this is a little bit more. Got a little bit more going on in there as well. So fairly good with this. I want to just take a little bit of my cobalt blue here. I want to go off at a distance. Let's get this stuff going first. Nice and light. This is just like doing twigs. I went on a grayish. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in some fencing tight. I'm going to give this a, these are all tied together, right? let's go back and do some of that nice stuff that we did before. Only a little bit darker. And we're just dropping. Only this is a lot drier now. So I'm getting a little harder edges in some of these. Okay, so what do we actually need to do, if anything, to make this a little bit more interesting? Well, one of the things we can do is to come back in here. I'm going to use a little bit of white paint, but I'm going to mix my white paint. I want to get a little bit more of this flatter look first of all. And we probably don't need much in terms of the white paint, but there's all kinds of crap that's usually on these dunes. So really heavy. Well, these are all just dark spots that I'm putting in to make. I need a bit of support value. You know, really darks. Okay. Including all this stuff in here. Let's make this a little more interesting. All right, so we've got that. And again, gosh, that's about where we want to be. I don't want to do too much more. I think I'm going to take, let me see if this will work. No, I probably have to, no, I'm not going to do it. No. These are color pencils, watercolor pencils, by the way. But I think what I'm going to do is, instead of using those, again, I'm going to just come in here and take a little bit of white paint and bring some of this stuff out. So let me clean my water out, and I'll be right back. What I've done is I'm adding a little bit of permanent white to my palette. And if I can get a thinner brush, let's see, where is that brush? And what I'm going to do is take a little bit of that permanent white, and I'm going to come in here and take a little bit of permanent white and take a little bit of my Naples yellow right here. All right, we're going to come in here with permanent white, and we're going to make this nice and light. See this? Okay, nice and light. What I want to do is I want to come in here and when that's a little bit too wet still. Some of these areas are not, though. I want to just make some of these areas lighter. Like in here. Make this a little bit stronger. Just going to lighten up some of these areas in here. Okay, just coming down here, adding. See, so this is the stuff that normally would be done. A person would probably mask this out if you're going to paint this all as a real transparent watercolor. But rather than me doing that, I'm just adding a little bit of it. Now, again, it's not pure white. It's just a mixture of Naples yellow, and I'm adding a little bit of white spots here and there. I just don't like the clusters. I mean, I'm just trying to fix up to some of the cluster areas here. I shouldn't say it's not that I don't like them, because I'll take a look at this later, actually. But it looks pretty good the way it is right now. Let's kill some of this in here. And this sort of lightens up some of this against the darks. And the same way with this here. All right. You know what? How about a couple of red berries? I don't know why. Well, when do I want a couple of red berries? Or red, sort of red pop flowers there, maybe. Okay, I think that's it. We've done enough. We keep going. Hey, you know, it just gets to be busier. So we got a nice feel. We got a movement of our dune fence up here, multicolored. I did it this time. Sometimes I do it all in one value. Multicolored, so it changes up. Some light, some dark, from a value point of view. subtlety with the ocean in the back there. I might want to just do a little bit of my, take just a little bit of my lavender, mixed it with my cerulean blue here, and just move it out here and just give myself a little bit of an area back here that is where the edge of the ocean is, in the horizon line. Do I want that? Well, we'll see. Looks all right to me so far right now. Lavender's pretty color. I'm going to just, okay, so let's stop this about here. All right. So that's it, my friends. I'm your host, Tony Visco. This is Planning for Pleasure. Until the next time, that's it. Catch me on www.panthonyvisco.com, YouTube, and there'll be a bunch of social media stuff out there as well. Take care. Bye-bye.